Hello and welcome back to another cyclocross video. We are at Treehouse this weekend, doing 2 races this day. So this is the first of 2 races. This is the novice category, about 20 folks in the field. And I think unlike last time, I really wanted to come out of the start really strong. So I knew that I needed to sprint real hard, and I managed to nab that gap there, which I was pretty happy with. And felt pretty strong, so I decided to push here. See this gap opening up, which feels pretty dangerous because I'm not familiar with basically anyone who's riding in this category. I chatted with a few folks beforehand, but you know, in a novice category like this, I find that there are some folks who they got a lot of fitness. Either they're coming from a non-cyclocross background, or maybe they just like haven't ridden in a while, but they have the legs or the skills to get away pretty quickly. So I managed to get back on there and think I'm going to try and chase this back. I know that we've got the sand pit coming up. This course is pretty interesting. On the first lap, there's a section through the woods that we cut through that we just had like an alternate turn there to avoid kind of a big glut of people all going into the woods together through a tight section. So pretty smart. And then instead, we now get to go straight to the sand pit feature. When we get to the second lap, I'll point out kind of, well, obviously it'll be a new section of the course you're not familiar with, so you'll get a good view of that. The sand pit, it was tough. I did not have a lot of experience riding in sand. There's like kind of a beach near me that I try and ride on occasionally, but it's pretty packed down sand, and as you can see, this is so loose. The rider in front of me goes down, which forces me to kind of grab brakes, and at that point I have no momentum, so I got to jump off and ride. So managed to keep my position, trade 1 for 1, so still in 3rd position at this point, which is very exciting for me. I'm hoping that, maybe I have a chance to get at a podium. I haven't gotten on a podium in a long time. I managed to do it on my first cyclocross race and another novice race in Secret Squirrel. The video for that's actually on this channel. But that was a much smaller field and also a very different course. So hoping to, repeat that success here. Here you get a nice sneak preview of probably the most unique feature of this course, which is the flyover. At least in New England, I'm not familiar with any other races that have like a big flyover like that, and it's a ton of fun to ride on. A bit intimidating. The camera I think doesn't do it super good justice in how much of a wall it feels like when you're approaching it, and all of your momentum just like kind of disappears as you go up the incline. There's also that kind of cool inertia effect when you're coming back down and you flatten back out. You can feel all of your weight kind of pushing down into the pedals. So a lot of fun. Keep talking through the course here. We've got a bunch of off-camber turns here, which were a bit spooky. This is early in the morning, so it's still a little cold and definitely a little wet. There was frost all over the grass when I got there. In fact, it was freezing cold, and I was worried that I was going to be underdressed. And in fact, this was the perfect gear for this temperature. I think I didn't notice overheating or being too cold, at least after like the first, half a lap. I see the guy in front of me goes down here. There's a little mud here, just like the water and dirt is kind of churned up. There were 2 line choices here. I kind of preferred this left line where I could come in on the muddy section here a little more straight. It was a little bit of a longer line, but it felt right. This line too, I didn't see a ton of people taking it, so I was curious I didn't stay for the pro ride because it was the pro race because it was later, so I'd be curious to see kind of what the more experienced riders do, although they're also riding a lot faster, so the line choice probably changes there too. A couple times here, I think you'll see that I'm trying to be efficient, but there it is. I clip a pedal occasionally on these turns. I'm trying to be efficient and pedal as much as I can through the turns, just trying to maintain momentum when I can, especially at the kind of lower speeds where you're not tilting so much, but still trying to find that point where it's okay to bike, or to pedal rather, and not clip the ground and go flying. Luckily, it doesn't cause any problems for me this race. Maybe I just need shorter cranks. I don't know, that's all the rage, I think, in road riding, at least. Shorter cranks. So we got a nice little power section here. There are a couple of these longer sections where you just gotta push. And at this point, I'm still in 2nd place, which, it's got the adrenaline going. My heart rate's all the way up to almost 180, which is, like, very high for me. So this is very much a VO2 effort for me. Not super sustainable for the entirety of this race, and I take this corner a little wonky there, just a little too much speed, and then lose a lot of speed coming out of it. So now we're going back into the woods here, and we got some tight turns. This was a pretty fun section. I found actually that most of the time in the woods, I was able to make up time on the people in front of me. Whether it's just the people I happened to be around kind of were feeling less comfortable in the woods. I also was running slightly wider tires. I think I'm running 40 millimeters right now, which is a little bit larger than what I saw most folks run. Some of these turns here, I found that I had to take them real slowly because I was worried there were a couple patches of kind of ground up and loose dirt, and I didn't want to slide out. I think the saying is that it's always faster to grab some brake than it is to, fall and have to hop back on your bike. And we'll see that actually coming up, no spoilers. So now we're leading into the flyover. And so you've got this nice straightaway here with plenty of grass for you to build up some speed, make some space around you, because one of the things that I think is a little intimidating and scary about the flyover is doing it with people around you. And see, all the energy goes out and then whee, all the way down. Very fun. So one of the things that I think is scary is if you're going up, 2x2 or in a large group, which I didn't really have to do. We've got some steps here, these small Belgians. I saw some people riding these, although I don't think I saw anyone, at least in the categories that I was in or near me, riding them super well. It felt like just getting off was the smart thing to do. And then the set of barriers are actually right around this corner here, so not a ton of time to be pedaling. So just kind of hop off and hop back on. And luckily, unlike the last race, I had no problems with the barriers this time. I had done a little bit of practicing, just kind of hopping off, hopping on the bike, trying to build that up. The announcers here are noting that the first place and myself, who is currently in second, are both named Andrew. So that was kind of fun. And now we're back at that start-finish straight, and now we're back in that power section. Although now on the second lap here, we get to go through the woods, so the lap is a little bit longer. It's probably about an extra minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, depending. So you didn't really get lap cards until the end of the second lap. So here we're turning left, which is different than before where we turned right. And now we've got a couple more turns before we get to go over a nice little, small little bridge into the woods. One thing you'll notice is that it's pretty choppy, even in the grass. It's not flat at all. And it just felt like, I felt like your seat saddle was kind of punching you in the butt if you weren't paying attention and you weren't, unweighting your body and standing up on the pedals a little bit, which as you get tired becomes harder to do. The woods were fun. Pretty flowy, lots of stuff and little obstacles and trees to avoid. It's a little dark in the footage here. I'll have to think about how I approach recording that a little better, but hopefully you can make it out decently well. There's some nice little fun bridges here. There's a little bit of gravel, loose gravel here. At one point there was a huge divot in it, which seemed like someone had maybe spun out or something there. These random trees in the middle of the path, some of which have been painted orange to make a little more obvious you don't ride straight into them. That's always nice. The guy in first I can't see him anymore, and I don't remember seeing him for a little bit. He had a ton of power. He was really pushing. And so, for me, I don't think I'm ever able to catch back up to him. And at this point, I think even here, I'm unless he messes up or really blows up, maybe he went out way too hard, which I also kind of went out hard, which I think is normal for cyclocross. I'm thinking, yeah, you can see him way up there, so not crazy far, but far enough that it's not going to be easy to make that time up. I'm also cognizant of these power sections here, trying to not let drag a bunch of people behind me. And I think at this point there's not a rider right behind me in my draft, which is good, because I don't want to give them a free ride through the wind. And now I get my second chance at the sand pit coming up. And I do like trying to ride through the sand pit. I think it's a little faster if you can get a good line through the sand. I did also feel like the sand just saps so much out of your legs that maybe it's more efficient, just in power and energy wise, to run it. Especially because you have this sharp turn coming in, so you want to try and straighten out as much as you can. So I push here, and I managed to get through it, which I was pretty happy about because like I mentioned, I don't have a ton of sand riding experience. Most of the tips I've heard online are just, or from other folks who are there, are like, keep your handlebars loose, let your front wheel kind of, find the divots it wants to ride in, and just kind of keep pushing, so that you carry that forward momentum through the sand instead of kind of falling over. So my apologies for the camera angle here. It's a little low. It's hard to kind of set up because you got to take the GoPro off and on, and it's on like a little chest mount thing. Can't really see where it's pointed while you're like standing upright. You got to kind of like lean over the bike to simulate what it's going to be like while you're riding. But not too bad, I think. You just get to see the bike grease on my left knee there. So we're coming back into these off cambers again. Still thinking kind of the same thought process I had before, trying to be, a little more measured in my efforts maybe. I'd love to catch up to that guy in first, but also I don't want to end up getting caught and kind of end up at the back of the field from pushing too hard. Yeah, this outer line, I don't know if it was smarter, but it felt safer because I didn't really love riding in the off-camber stuff. I need to practice it more so I feel more comfortable there. And then, of course, here I'm like, oh, let me take the outer line. But it's a little wet, and I slide right out. And I was like, oh, crap. And you see I got a nice big, clod of mud and grass on my brake hood there. I jump on without looking at the chain. And, of course, the chain's dropped. And I'm like, oh, what a disaster. So I start trying to fix it from the front. I'm like, oh, shit. And so here you get to watch me fix it, which is kind of fun. Get it on there real fast. I don't know if maybe this is something people practice doing to get it done faster, but in this time I get passed by I think 3-4 people there, which sucks. So it's like all this free time that you just gave away because you crashed out and dropped the chain. If I'd only dropped the chain, I think I would have lost just the one position, which would have been nice. But it just happens, especially when you slide out on that side of the bike. You could have the best derailleur in the world, and I think, you're still going to drop your chain sometimes when you fall like that. The fun part now is that I have someone to chase, so it's always kind of fun to have like the carrot on the stick in front of you. It's a little more motivating than just kind of someone who's 20 seconds up the road from you. So coming into this corner here, we get a good view of the field. We can see the folks coming around on the front, and then as we come around here, the camera will catch the the folks chasing behind me. We could see two riders in blue kit. I think one of them or maybe both of them are B2C2 riders, and we'll definitely get a better view of them in a second. As we come back around the barriers, again, I'm doing much better than the last race, making sure I get off the bike with time to grab onto the top tube, step off, jump over the barriers, and then hop back on. I think I'm still stutter stepping a little bit, but I think I just need to dedicate some more time to more intentional practice. Across the line here, we're on lap 3 now. I believe this is 2 laps to go at this point. This is the novice race, so there's only 30 minutes of racing as opposed to the 4-5 race, which is 40 minutes of racing. I do also have footage of the 4-5 race. I didn't do quite as well in the 4-5 race as I do in this race. It was the second one of the day, is kind of, a good excuse. But also I think true, definitely could feel the fatigue. And as you'll see here, I'm kind of hurting a little bit. My calves ended up cramping up. I think maybe just not eating enough breakfast or enough electrolytes and water between races, or into this race rather too. And I think I mentioned in the last video that just kind of like figuring out the right way to handle, that kind of lower back pain that happens after 25, 30 minutes of racing. Following this guy in the woods here, I definitely feel like I'm carrying a little bit more speed than him into some of these corners. So I'm feeling a little slowed down behind him. So I'm looking for an opportunity to pass, but it is pretty tight, so it's hard without spending a bunch of matches, shooting forward and then grabbing a bunch of brake right into another turn. So I'm not super psyched about it, especially given that there's a power section right after this. So unless I can kind of gap him in the woods here, I'd give him another free tow and then he'll come around me again. So I don't remember what I end up choosing to do, but it was definitely on my mind in the moment of like, I should get around him because we feel like we're losing time based on what I want to do in this section. But also I feel like he was stronger than me in the power section. So it's kind of that, trading back and forth. So we come out of the woods with him in the lead here, and I'm like, I don't care how much it hurts. I need to stay on his wheel here, just to get a little bit of efficiency in the draft for this straight section and into these upcoming turns. It'll help a lot to kind of save that energy compared to him who has to cut through the wind, even at this kind of, lower speed, 13, 14 miles an hour. And then we get to have our third chance going through the sand pit. I definitely downshift, at least once, maybe twice coming into the sand pit. There's like a little bit of lost speed coming into the turn there, and I don't really want to lose it. Of course, he slows down and I kind of have too much momentum, have to grab brake, and I start to fall over, so I have to jump off and jump back on. Not ideal. And as you can see, he has some more efficiency there. I don't really know how to choose a line in the sand other than kind of that initial, once you enter the sand. I kind of just let my front wheel carry me where it's going to go because I don't really know how to steer. I don't think you really can steer. In any case, now he's got a little bit of a gap on me as we come into these corners, passing under the flyover. You can see there's another person behind us just coming into the flyover when we made that turn there. These corners are pretty big, so I found that for the most part, you know, depending on where you are and how much speed you had, you could kind of pedal through them, which was good because you wanted to maintain as much momentum as you could and be efficient with your pedaling. There was this really annoying bump here coming up onto that gravel path that every time would just like kick me off my bike a little bit. I don't know if there's like a trick to handling that or you just kind of have to handle it. But it's just something I noticed on every single lap, and I was like, oh. These teeny little hills giving me a little bit of a trouble as I definitely am feeling the fatigue in the legs at this point, having pushed myself at VO2 levels for a long time. Coming back into this mud section, given I just fell on this the last lap, I'm feeling a little more cautious here and thinking about my line choice more. Thinking, okay, I'm going to take this nice and slow, real wide here, come around, straighten up, come up over the hill, which I handle perfectly this time, so not a problem. Although I think here, no, I think at one point, maybe when I was practice riding, I kicked the rear end out a little bit there when I grabbed some brake when I probably shouldn't have, but not during this race. I wonder if there's a smarter line to come into these barriers here, because it feels like other folks were taking this a little wider and turning right into them. I also wonder if practicing and getting off on the other side of my bike would be more efficient here. That's not something I practice a lot of. I'm definitely less efficient getting off on the other hand, or on the other side, I should say. And the astute viewer would note that I did get on from the other side of the bike after I dropped the chain, because that's just happened. That's the drive side of the bike. So it's definitely useful to be able to do that. Maybe I should spend some more time getting comfortable there. And now coming in here, we've got bell lap. We got the last lap here. So the guy in front of me, he's got quite a gap at this point, and I'm, trying to chase that back down, but I'm hurting. You can see my heart rate's up to 181. I don't have a ton of repeatability in these super hard punchy efforts. Just trying to build up that endurance over time. Maybe next year I'll absolutely gas the field after doing a whole year's worth of structured training. I don't know if he messed up at some point in the woods here, like fell or had to grab a lot of breaks, but at this point I've managed to kind of cut that gap back, which is definitely surprising to me in the moment, but also very exciting. And I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I can capitalize on this, get back in the draft again in that power section if I can get up close here. So that was pretty exciting for me because I think that this was one of the times where I was like, oh, maybe I can handle the woods a little better, or my gear is a little more appropriate for the soft dirt in the woods as opposed to the grass here. So sticking in the draft here, saving that energy, trying not to grab too much break into these corners. Feeling kind of strong, but I'm like, I'm not gonna come around him. Definitely gonna slot back in behind. This is the last lap, so now's the chance to kind of finish it up. And as you can see, he has a little bit more, get out and go. And he gaps me off there as I'm trying to catch back up to him in the sand pits here. Let's see how I handle it this time. This time, I just barely managed to push through, and he has to get off and run. But of course, he ends up being faster, and I end up having to push a ton of effort just to get through that loose sand. So maybe it would have been faster to just get off and run with him. Although I think his mounting is a little faster than mine.
Under 4.66, getting the belt ready to go.
coming into the last few corners here. We can see the rider in front of me just gets over the steps here as I'm heading into them now. Again, jumping off, running over. I think at this point is where my calves cramp up. And I actually stop pedaling here as I'm like, oh shit, can I actually like move my legs right now? Like, both my calves just kind of seize up. I'm not pedaling at all. I'm like, am I gonna be able to get off the bike and get over these barriers? And I think with the adrenaline and everything, I'm like, okay, I just gotta go. I'm at the last lap, the last section here. I can't get past right now just because of that. So luckily, I think my right calf kind of calmed down and was okay. The left calf, though, was bothering me for the rest of the day. It's actually still bothering me today a little bit. So should have eaten a banana or something, you know, get some more potassium, sodium. And that's it. That's the end of the Treehouse race here. This was a total blast. Really fun race. Shout out to the winners, Andrew Hain, Zachary Robinson, and Nelson Cohn, taking the top 3 places respectively. I managed to come in with a respectable 6th place, which is definitely ahead of what the race predictor had me at. So I was happy with that. Looking at the stats, I mean, I don't think there was a ton of interesting stuff here other than the fact that my heart rate was basically pegged the whole time, which is about what I would have expected to see. Maybe I'll get a power meter at some point for the gravel / cross bike here. Might give some more interesting data. But power meters are kind of expensive. And I do like the one I have on my road bike though. So we'll see. And also another data field that you can throw on the videos here. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to watch more race footage. Thanks.